Hey, third grade, this is your math video for lesson 6.1. Today we are going to be practicing subtraction. It's called the trade first subtraction. This is what we consider our traditional subtraction. So if your families ever help you, this is probably the strategy that they use. Before we get into that, though, we are going to do a quick mental math warm-up. So if you want to grab your whiteboards, we are going to be doing this on your whiteboards, and then we are going to be practicing a few problems that are in your workbook. So why don't you pause the video, grab your whiteboards and your workbook. All right, so let's look at mental math warm-up. So what this is this is the expanded form of a number. So what you are doing is you are trying to write what the number would be if you added 100 plus 20 plus 5. The reason we're doing this is to help you think about place value when you go into subtraction problems. So let's look here. 100 plus 20 plus 5. Write it on your whiteboard. What number would that equal? It would be 125. 125. We have 1 in the hundreds place. We have 2 for the tens, and we have 5 ones. Now let's move on to the next one. 300 plus 30 plus 0. 300 plus 30 plus 0. What would that be? That would be 330. We have 3 100s. We have 3 tens, but we have 0 ones. And our last one, 300 plus 60 plus 4. 300 plus 60 plus 4. That would be 364. We have 3 in the hundreds place, 6 in the tens place, and 4 in the ones place. So think about place value as we go through our subtraction practice. This is a problem on page 189 in your workbook. So you can kind of set your whiteboards to the side and get out your workbooks. I want you to turn to page 189. 189. This is the second problem that is on the page. The first problem, they asked you to use the expand and trade subtraction, but that is not what our focus is for this one. We are looking at the trade first subtraction or traditional subtraction. So I want you to look at problem number 2, and I want you to think about what would your estimate be? We are trying to subtract 406 minus 389. 406 minus 389. Don't spend too much time on your estimate. You just want to think about what are those close but easier numbers we could use. Okay, so write that in your workbook, and then if you need to pause the video while you do that, you can. All right, so let's look at what we could use for our estimate. So we could round 406 up to 410 and 389 up to 390. So 410 minus 390 would equal 20. So we'll keep that in mind as we start to solve our problem. So with this one, I'm actually going to switch over to my digital tool, like digital whiteboard, and I'm going to write out this problem so we can solve it together. All right, so now we are on my digital whiteboard. So we have 406 minus 389. So you're continuing to solve this problem in your workbook. Now with this one, when we do trade first subtraction or traditional subtraction, we start in the ones place. And the question that we're asking ourselves is, can we take away the top number from the bottom number? So can I subtract 9 from 6? Can I do 9 from 6? So if I have 6 pencils and you ask me for 9 of them, can I give you 9 pencils? Nope. So 6 is less than 9. We need our number on the top to be greater than our number on the bottom. So 6 is not greater than 9. So the saying that you've probably heard people say is, if there's more on the floor, go next door and borrow 10 more. So what we need to do is we need to go next and look at the number that's in the tens place. So 0 minus 8. If I have 0 pencils, can I give you 8 of them? No. So our number on the bottom is less than our number on the top is less than our number on the bottom. So there's more on the floor, go next door and borrow 10 more. So what we need to do here is this is where we are going to cross off our number 4 because it's not going to be 400 anymore. we are going to borrow 100 from this 400 to distribute to our tens place. So here, it's not going to be 400 anymore if we're taking away 100 from it. What would it be? It would be 300. So I would draw a 3 up here. Now, why did I put a 3 and not 300? Because we're in the hundreds place. So if I had 3 of like the flat 100s, I would have 3 of them, which would equal 300. But now I have 100 just floating in the air. We have to put it somewhere. So I'm going to cross off this 0, and that's where we're going to move our 100. Now, if I have 100, but I break it up into tens, how many tens would I have? I would have 10 of them because 10 times 10 equals 100, right? So if I have 10 up here, I still needed to give to this 6 in the ones place though. We still had to keep moving back. So for this one, this is not going to be a 10 anymore because I need to borrow from it. So I'm going to take a 10 away from this number, right? I'm going to take a 10 away from this number, and now a 10 is just floating in the air. So this wouldn't be 10 anymore. I should have given myself more room at the top, but this is actually going to be 9 or 9 tens, which is 90. So now the 10 is just floating in the air. So I need to give the 10 here. So if I add 10 plus 6, I would have 16. So I want you to pause the video right now and make sure that you have this. So all of our numbers in on the first row up here on the top row are crossed off now because we had to keep borrowing. So we had 400, now we have 300. We gave that to the tens place, which gave us 100, but then we borrowed a 10 from it. So now there's only 9 tens or 90. And then we gave a 10 to the ones place, which now is 16 because we had 6, we added 10 to it, and now it's 16. So now you just subtract down. You do 16 minus 9, 9 minus 8, and 3 minus 3. So 16 minus 9 is 7. 9 minus 8 is 1. And then 3 minus 3 is 0. You could put a 0 there, or you don't have to if you know that that is just a placeholder. So 406 minus 389 would equal 17. So I'm going to switch back over to the Google Slides, and I'm just going to show you this is a little bit more of a clean version than my messy scratch on the whiteboard. But they just did the same thing here. They kept borrowing and trading, passing it on to the next place value until they had a number that was greater on top than on the bottom. And then it says, how do you know your answer makes sense? I counted up and got 17. My answer is close to my estimate. So our estimate was 20. Our answer is 17. So they are pretty close. So we know that they make sense. Pause the video while you fill in for the rest of problem 2. All right, so now we have a few more practice problems that we are going to work on. So I want you to turn the page to 190. 190. You can see that they have an example for you. It was 217 minus 188, and they got the answer of 29 by using the trade first subtraction. So their problem was similar to the one we just did. They had to borrow all the way over from the hundreds place and then distribute it to the tens and the ones place. We are going to look at one that's a little bit simpler because it's only working with 2 place values instead of 3. So for problem number 1, it says 83 minus 46. 83 minus 46. The estimate for this one, think of 80. What's close to, or I'm sorry, 83, what's close to 83? 80. So 80, so you could do 80 minus, and then what's close to 46? It would round up to 50. So 80 minus 50 would equal 30. So our answer is going to be near 30. All right, so if I have 83 minus 46, I look at the 3, look at the ones place first. Is 3 greater than 6? No. So there's more on the floor, so we got to go next door and borrow 10 more. So this 8 is not actually 8. It is 8 tens. So we are going to borrow a 10 from this 80, which would leave us with 7 tens. And then we would add it to our ones place. So it would be like saying 3 plus 10, which would be 13. Okay, so make sure you have that on your workbook. And now you just subtract down. You do 13 minus 6 and 7 minus 4. So 13 minus 6 would be 7, and 7 minus 4 would be 3. So our answer would be 37. So again, you ask yourself, is the top number greater or less than the bottom number? If it's less than, there's more on the floor, you got to go next door and borrow 10 more. Okay. So make sure you have this. You may need to pause to copy this down, but make sure you have the estimate and then your answer. And if it asked us how our answer made sense, we would say that our answer was close to our estimate. All right, let's look at problem number 2. So we are doing 125 minus 65. For our estimate, we could do 130. That's what 125 would round up to, minus 70, because that's what 65 would round up to. And that would give us an answer of 60. So we know that our answer should be close to 60. All right, so let's look at our ones, please. 5 minus 5. Is the top less than the bottom? Nope, so we're good on this one. But let's move on to the tens place. 2 minus 6. 2 is less than 6, so we need to go next door. So we're going to cross off that 1, and that 1 is just going to become a 0. We're taking 100 from it, and we're adding it to our tens place. We're adding it to our tens place. So instead of having 2 tens, we are going to have 12 tens because we had 2. Think of it like 20, and then we added 100 to it. So we would need 12 tens to equal what we put in the tens place, because 12 tens would equal 120. So now we would do 5 minus 5, which would be 0, and 12 minus 6, which would be 6. And look at that. Our answer is exactly what our estimate is. The reason is because, look, we added 5 here and we added 5 here to get our estimate. So because we added 5 in both places, it ended up evening out. Our last problem that we are going to look at is number 3, 410 minus 286. Okay, so look at your ones place. Is 0 greater than or less than 6? It's less than, so we know we're going to have to borrow from. We're going to have to borrow. 1 minus 8. Is 1 greater than or less than 8? It's less than, so we know we're going to have to borrow from that one. And that means we are going to have to take from our 100s place. So we need to take 100 from here. So 400 minus 100 will leave us with 300. We're going to add that 100 to our tens place. So if we had 110 and we're adding 10 more to it, that would give us 11 tens for that. Sorry about that. So now we have 11 tens, but we need to keep borrowing because we need some for our ones place. So I'm going to cross off that, and we're going to take a 10 away from that. So instead of 11 tens, we're going to have 10 tens, and then 0 plus 10 would give us 10. So now we have a 10 in the ones place, 10 tens, and then 3 hundreds. So 10 minus 6 would equal 4. 10 minus 8 would equal, oops, hold on. I was writing the number I was saying. 10 minus 8 would equal 2. And then 3 minus 2 would equal 1. So make sure you have this down. And your estimate for this one, 410 could round down to 400. And 286 could round up to 290. And 400 minus 290 would give you 110. So pretty close to our estimate. All right, so if you need to rewatch any part of this video to make sure you have your workbook page done, you can. And then when you meet with your teacher, you will definitely practice more subtraction problems. Good job, guys.